This is the ultimate guide to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. If you're looking to put on a show, or you're even considering doing it, this video is for you. I'm literally making the video that I wish I had before I started my first Edinburgh Fringe show. This year I'll be performing my 8th and 9th Fringe show, and I thought I would give you all the information, or at least most of it, in this video that can help you have the best and most successful Edinburgh possible. In this video, we'll be covering 7 points. We're going to be doing my experience. We're going to be doing types of Edinburgh Fringe, booking the Fringe, accommodation, marketing, cost involved, and pros and cons. So let's just dive straight into it. So my name's Cameron Young, and over the past many years, I've been attending the Edinburgh Fringe as a guest and as a performer. And I thought, you know what? I would break it down for you guys so you can get the best understanding, especially if the Edinburgh Fringe is new for you. However, I'm sure there'll be some tips within this video that is perfect for the performer that's been doing it already for a while. I'll be sharing some photos, some videos, and not only that, things that I've experienced throughout the Edinburgh Fringe. So let's start with number 1. Experience. In 2017, I had a guest spot at the Edinburgh Fringe. A guest spot is where there's a show on and I had a 10-minute slot within that show. 2 years later, I decided to take the plunge. I booked a 10-night slot with a paid Fringe venue, which is the standard Fringe, where people would pay for tickets to come and see me. And I also had a show in the free Fringe. We will discuss this later on. So I would do a full run every single night for the whole of August in the free Fringe and a 10-night slot in the paid Fringe. Then we had our pandemic. Back again in 2022, I'd done a full run in the paid Fringe and a full run in the free Fringe. In 2023, I did a full run in the paid Fringe and a full run in the free Fringe. And this year is the exact same. So this year I'm doing my 8th and 9th show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. My experience. My experience says that I've grown through time. I've got slightly better venues, slightly better time slots. And not only that, I found it so much easier over time. The first year that I got into the Edinburgh Fringe, it was challenging to say the least because I didn't really know what I was looking for. It's probably why I'm kind of glad that I went for a guest spot in my first year rather than going straight in. And then 2 years later, I only didn't do the following year because I was away working in America for work. In 2019, when I done that first run, especially when I was doing the 10-day through the ticketed Fringe, that was the scary part. So let's move on. Well, that's my experience. I don't want to keep dwelling on lots of different things. We're going to be talking about my experience pretty much entirely through this video, but it's just so you know that I maybe have the credentials behind me to be able to tell you all about this, because guess what? I've been there and I've done it. So let's move on to number 2, the types of Fringe. Well, I mentioned 2 types here, and I'm pretty much going to touch on 3 of them. So let's start off with one you may be familiar with if you've been to Edinburgh, and that is busking, or the street of the Fringe. You may notice if you're walking up and down the Royal Mile, and if you don't know what the Royal Mile is, it is a very famous strip that is used throughout the Edinburgh Fringe to advertise, and not only that, promote shows along with street performances all the way up and down the Fringe. From jugglers to fire eaters, singers, musicians, you name it, it's happening. If you want to be a street performer, I don't know too much about it, but I know some things, so that's why I thought I would touch on it first. I know that you meet up, if you're wanting to do it this way, you can meet up every morning. I believe it's around like 7 a.m. And then you put your name in a hat or a bag. And then your name's pulled out. And if your name's pulled out, it gets announced. You go to the front of the queue and you add your name to the time slot that you're looking to get. Several different places around Edinburgh, not just the Royal Mile where you could perform, but it's all time slotted. First pulled out the bag, first served. And I really like that model. It's a really great way. So how do you make money as a street performer? You perform your show on the streets. You draw a crowd. At the very end, you have an amazing pitch, a finale trick, for example, and then you put your hat down. If you manage to get several slots in a day, you never know, you can make a very good living out of that. Not only that, you've not got the added expense of having a venue, not got any marketing fees, and it saves you a lot of money compared to what you could be doing. The Free Fringe. I've done the Free Fringe in 2019, 2022, 2023, and we'll be doing it as a double act in 2024. The Free Fringe, how does that work? Well, there's a few different versions, but I'm going to talk about the one that I have all the experience in, and that is the PBH Free Fringe. The Free Fringe is pretty much what it says on the ticket. You apply for a venue, or you apply for the Free Fringe to get a space. Then eventually, when you've put all your details in through the PBH Free Fringe, then you'll get your offer. So say, for example, I'm going to actually break that down even more. Around Edinburgh, there's lots of different venues, bars, pubs, restaurants, small theatres that give up their space for free. What they'll get in return is audiences in their venue a lot. And not only that, they can serve alcohol, serve food, serve to these public. The venue you're given, honestly, I've seen some of them which are not the greatest, and then I've been very lucky that I've started in a really good venue and moved to one just slightly better than that. So say, for example, you get given the venue I've got this year. It's the Voodoo Rooms. The Voodoo Rooms in Edinburgh is a very nice 1930s style bar. I absolutely love it. I've been given one of the venues inside this building. There is 3. So I get that venue. I got the phone call offer this year. And because I already had a show with my paid Fringe, the main show, my own show, at 8:20 p.m, the first time slot just wouldn't work. So I said to them, is there any chance of changing it slightly? And they did. We've got a 20 past 10 every single night time slot, which is ideal for our kind of show. Now, at 20 past 10 every night, I'll be going in and doing the show. We still market it like normal, but this venue is being given to me for free. How I make my money is I don't sell tickets, but I do put a bucket out at the end, similar to a street performance, except from it's for a seated theatre performance in a venue. And then you can make your money that way. And it's a really good way to do it. You don't have to pay for your venue, and they can add up to a lot. You don't have to do much marketing. However, I still put up some posters, which we'll talk about later on. And it's a really good way to get in with the Edinburgh Fringe with the least pressure and expense. And then you've got your paid Fringe, the normal Fringe, the Fringe Festival. This is where you'll go through a venue, and there's 2 different ways that I've done it. The first one, I've went through a venue, and I've hired the venue outright. I've said, right, I want to pay for this venue outright, so I have it the whole way through August from 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. And that's a really good way of doing the Edinburgh Fringe model. There is many companies that you'll see throughout the Edinburgh Fringe, such as the Gilded Balloon, Assembly Rooms, and a lot more. I just approached one of these and said I wanted to go for it. Throughout the Edinburgh Fringe website, it'll list actually all the venues. And then because I've been and seen lots of shows, I picked the one that was ideal for me. However, if not, you can maybe approach someone that's been at the Edinburgh Fringe, or you can just look on their website. All the specifications are there. Then it's worth looking at the location of where that venue is. Is it close to the Royal Mile, or is it close to a busy complex? I've been in the main room, the main building of the Gilded Balloon, and I know that that's busy every single evening. However, I've done it at a lunchtime show when it's quiet. So you just have to think about all these different things. In the Edinburgh Fringe, where there's bars and restaurants, the chances are it's going to be busy. And during the day, more closer to the shopping centres are going to be busy. The second option was that I done it on a split. So what you do is you pay a fee up front, which is like your guarantee. So say the split full on is 60-40. If, for example, 40% of your entire ticket sale, if you sell all out, might be £10,000, just for example. I'm just throwing a number out there. Then you might have to give maybe a 30% or a 40% guarantee of that £10,000. So you're still getting £3,000 or £4,000 up front. Then at the very end, you'll either lose your £3,000 or £4,000 or the 60-40 split, whatever is the more amount. That is just another option. There is pros and against each one. One, you just pay for your venue and you know where you stand. But with the other one, you've got less pressure at the upfront and you know it's a 60-40 split. However, you might lose more in the long run with that model. So they're the 2 models that I've done through the paid Fringe. Again, check out the Edinburgh Fringe website where they've got a list of all the different venues that you can chat to, all the different time slots, and see what will be best for you. So that is basically moving on nicely to Booking the Fringe. That was the types of Fringe, and just like Booking the Fringe, you go online and you basically apply through either the Edinburgh Fringe, the Edinburgh Fringe Free Fringe, which is called the PBH, or we can even go on to there is one just for the busking. And if you look at the busking, you can sign your name up. But again, that is not my expertise. So that's where I would suggest checking out the Edinburgh Fringe website. You can find out more information there. It's been an absolute Bible. It's like a how-to guide online. I'm giving you a lot from experience, but the Edinburgh Fringe are giving you all the facts. I'm giving it based on being there for many years. But again, the Edinburgh Fringe are giving you this based on the fact that they've got and the roles that they do and the rules that they apply from. The venues that I've worked with is the Gilded Balloon and the Space. That is in the paid Fringe. With Gilded Balloon, I've had a lunchtime slot, and this year it's an evening slot. And with the Space, I hired that outright and I got a space. The reason why I used that venue one year was because I actually went to see a show in that space, a magic show, and I thought it was fantastic and I loved the space and I was like, this is right for me. I'm going to book it. Rest is history. I booked it and we're in the show. Now, that was a really fast segment. We've already covered the experience, the types of Fringe, and booking of the Fringe. Now let's move on to accommodation. Accommodation is probably the number one question that I get asked from any artist, any act, or any person coming to the Edinburgh Fringe, whether they're coming to watch the show or whether they're coming to do the show. So here's things to think about. The Edinburgh Fringe pretty much maximizes the capacity of Edinburgh. What I mean by that is we grow in population for the whole of August because there's tourists coming from around the world. There's also 5,000 acts or shows coming into the Edinburgh Fringe area to perform. So not only have you got all the acts coming in, you've also got all the public coming in as well. And there's probably not enough hotel rooms to accommodate. That means if you were a tenant, a hotel chain, you would put your prices up. Correct? So you would. So here's some advice so you can get cheap accommodations. I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice and I hope one of them helps. Number 1, a hostel. Now, I'm starting with the least glamorous one potentially for you first, and then we're going to build up. The hostel. I've never stayed in a hostel in Edinburgh. I have in New York, and I know they're a lot more cost effective. But however, a lot of acts already know about this. So the prices are slightly increased probably, but in the long run, a hostel may be great. You'll get to meet some amazing people, but there is pros and cons with hostels. I'm sure there's videos on YouTube to talk about hostels and what the pros and cons are. Number 2, looking at Airbnb and then teaming up with other performers and do a joint venture. What do I mean by that? If you're finding an Airbnb and it's £3,000 for the month and you reckon that 6 people could stay in it, perfect. Get 6 people involved, all pay £500, mutually agree, and make sure you get in writing too. Get your £500 off them all, especially if it's your friends, it'll be so much easier, and then pay your £3,000. That sounds cheap for a month in Edinburgh, £500 each. If you divide it by 5, maybe slightly more. Divide by 4, even more. However, it's still cheaper than getting rent, etc. Now, this is a wee extra, by the way. You can potentially get rent, look at room share, etc. But never put down a deposit without going and seeing it and meeting the person first and getting paperwork signed. The reason why I say never put down a deposit is because I've got a friend that came across from Australia, insisted that this deal was perfect, paid a £500 deposit, and then never heard from the person again. Just think about that also. And tip number 3, and this is the one that I recommend to many people to save an absolute mini fortune, is maybe stay out with the centre of Edinburgh. If you've got a show that finishes before, say, 10:30 in the evening, maybe 11 p.m. in the evening, or that starts after 10 a.m., then this may be the perfect thing for you. If you're not that bothered about staying out till 3 or 4 in the morning partying, well, then you're willing to get a train. Around about a 30-minute train journey around the city of Edinburgh, you'll be able to find many accommodation, whether it's other sides of Edinburgh, through a place called Fife. One place I can even recommend is Dunfermline. If you can get one in the city centre of Dunfermline, you're close to a train station and you can be in the town within about 30 minutes of a train journey. You obviously have that added expense of paying for the train, but think about it this way. If you're coming up by yourself and you're going to spend £3,000 on Airbnb, you may be able to get an Airbnb for the month, for example, in Dunfermline for £800. You spend £200 on travel. You've already saved yourself £2,000. That's more than an average wage for the whole month. So think about it strategically. You've also got other places such as Livingston and many other different places around the area. Maybe speak to friends about it. But that was just one that I recommend and I've said to friends before and they've done it. You could also potentially find friends that live local, sleep on their couch, offer to pay some of the rent that month. Maybe they've got a spare room. There are so many different options, but these are ones that I've discussed with friends. I've got friends that are coming to stay with me this August, and not only that, I've had it where I've managed to recommend hotels and even go and view them for them on their behalf. If they've stayed in London, I can be the person that's the middleman. So there we go. So we've covered experience, types of fringe, booking of the fringe, accommodation. Now it's on to one of the most important parts, and that is marketing your show. So at this point, you've got your accommodation, you've got your venue, you know where you're staying, you've got your show, the show's ready, because that's what you need. You need a good show. But the marketing. Well, let's start off with have a good show. I've listened to Jimmy Carr on his podcast, and I 100% agree with him. You could go in the first show and maybe have 20 ticket sales out of 50 if you've got a 50-seater venue. But all 20 of them recommend you to 5 different people. The next night you could sell out. So definitely putting on a good show is a massive thing to do for your marketing, because the better show you put on, the more people are going to recommend you. And word of mouth is massive at the Edinburgh Fringe, because there was a show that Jimmy Carr talked about, which I believe had Johnny Vegas in it, I believe, that on the first few nights it done well. And at the very end, Jimmy Carr struggled to get a ticket for it because it was just so full, because it done so well. Other things that we can discuss for this would be your poster. You may be competing against 5,000 other shows, many clashing with your time slot. There may be any very established acts, well-established acts that are on at the same time as you. So why are they going to come and see you over any of these established acts that know are going to put on a good show? Well, that sometimes is down to your poster. So let me show you a few of my posters that I've used throughout the years. We're going to show you the first poster that I'd done. Back here in 2017, well, I don't actually have that poster, but we've got the 2019 poster. This is a paid Fringe poster that I had in 2019. And then here's my free poster from 2019. Then moving forward, it gets a bit better. Let's look at 2022. I've got both the posters here, slightly better as you can see. 2023, as you can see, my double act poster looks quite good, and then a really good one in my free Fringe. But look at the difference now. So I've put a lot of thought into the poster this year, and you're going to see the difference here when you're looking at my main poster. So this is my main poster. As you can see, it's double-sided for flyers, but the main poster, the Scottish Magician, definitely stands out compared to most posters. And I know this one will be a selling point, because if you're up against 5 or 6 other posters, it looks like mine might stand out and give it a chance to come and see my show. I've not got my free Fringe poster ready yet. We've had the photo shoot between, but we're doing a double act, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes out. So the poster is really important. Now, how do you get your poster out there? Well, I've mentioned there flyer distribution. You can pay people, or you can do it yourself, and you can stand out there for as many hours as you want, handing out flyers, hoping that people will buy tickets. A great way to sell. Not only that, you can go through a company called Out of Hand Print. It is the distributor for Edinburgh Fringe. And then if you've seen Edinburgh before, you'll probably see, and I'm going to put some photos up now of the location of Edinburgh. How many posters are around the town? There is thousands. But what I have to say is what you're getting when you pay for this is the product made, the project distributed, the photo that's been proven to put up, the location that you're going for, and for it to stay up there for the entire month. Which means, I know this because my parents own a sign company. A sign that may cost £50 may cost you £500 to get put up. A sign the size of the door, standard door, is about £700 to put up at the Edinburgh Fringe. Yes, it adds up. So check out now Out of Hand Print. The prices are probably still there until August, and then after August, the prices are removed until about January, February time, where they re-release it again. I always put a budget for a paid show or a ticketed show for about £1,000 throughout this. And what I do is, because I've got friends that spend a lot more than that, is I try and distribute them around my venue. So people that are passing my venue should see my face several times and go, that looks like a good poster. I think I'm going to go and see that one. There's many different strategies. I even missed out on a space that I wish I got this year. But again, I'll learn from experience, and next year I won't do that mistake again. So you've got your poster, you're distributing them. You could also use a Royal Mail distribution service, going through all the letterboxes. You've also got the potential of doing that. Now let's go on to social media ads. Social media ads. For me, the return on investment from a Facebook ad, if you do it properly, is phenomenal. I use Facebook ads where I share the poster and I also share a video. You can target people, so I'll target Edinburgh, people coming to the Edinburgh Fringe, people that are avid buyers, and then I'll put a budget behind it and I'll advertise and sell tickets. What you need to think about through the paid fringe especially, because I would probably only do the ads for the paid fringe so you can see your ticket sales going up, over the free fringe where you're going to be advertising to people and hoping that they come through the door to come and see your show because there's no tickets for the free fringe and you're putting a bucket out at the end. But with your paid fringe, you can keep an eye on the ticket sales. The issue is, though, with if you're paying, say, £1,000 on Facebook, and I'm not saying you have to do as much as this, but if you do £5 a day for 2 or 3 months, it adds up, and you're paying your £5 a day every single day, and then the ticket sales are slowly growing. Amazing. It is doing brilliant. You're getting ticket sales. But the con is, you're not getting your money back until September time when you're getting the payout for the fringe. So you have to self-fund this until you get your money back. So you put money in and then eventually you get to pull it back. So you have to make sure that you can afford to live, afford your business, afford everything else that's going on first. But obviously you want a ticket sale. So I might have sold this year, for example, on a Facebook ad that I've put up there paying £5 a day. It's cost me £300. I've actually sold over 300 tickets. So for every pound ticket I'm selling, I've actually made a £10 ticket sale. If I were on a 60-40 split, I'm making £5 for every sale. So for every sale, I'm making £6 technically, but then minus that pound for selling it. So spend £300, sell 300 tickets. Sounds like a great ROI if you do it properly. So you got your posters, you got your distribution, you've got your marketing. There are so many other ways, as I said about word of mouth, which is a fantastic way to go forward for the marketing. And then PR. Something that I've not done as much, but you get your PR person, which can get you into the newspapers. It's more expensive. I've actually found someone my friend is using this year, and I want to see how his experience is this year, which means I'll probably use PR next year. PR is invaluable. You get your reviews, you get the right people seeing the show. It's for presses, sending it to the newspaper, maybe getting on radio stations, potentially even getting on the TV. PR is what all the big companies, all the media companies and the brand companies use to take yourself to another level and get your brand right in front of the right people, so you're going to get articles made about you. PR is a fantastic way to look into it. Again, I'm new to PR this year, and I probably should have done this for years, and people that have got established shows are probably laughing right now going, haha, he never used PR. Well, I started small, and instead of just going for the biggest venues out of all of them, I decided, you know what, I'm going to see where I stand, learn about this and build up. And yeah, I probably would be in PR by now if it wasn't for the pandemic, but having a 2 or 3 year break, then I had a year to get into it. And then last year I'd done an amazing double act with the child from Penn and Teller, and it was fantastic. So we had a bit of PR through Penn sharing it, Taylor sharing it, and a few other people sharing it, which was fantastic. However, this is my first year coming back as, like, I would say, me doing my show, which I'm very excited to do. So that means next year I'm going to have the confidence from what I'm going to build on this year to do next year, and that's when PR will bring in. So now you've got your show, you know where you're staying, you've booked a venue, you've booked your accommodation, you've thought about marketing. Let's talk about all the costs. And you know what? For this, I'm going to bring in my calculator. I want to be able to break it down because, yes, you're probably going to hear that people will lose money at the Fringe and people will make money. But it needs to see what you're wanting to get out of it. If you're coming to be a millionaire from the Edinburgh Fringe, well, maybe you should be one of the venues. If you're looking to do okay, break even, then great. You're probably in the right place to do so. So let's do it on 2 different venues. Actually, you know what? Let's do it on 3. First of all, we're going to start with the free fringe. I probably haven't covered the free fringe as much. The free fringe, you get to put posters up around the venue. You can have flyer, but there's not much more that you can do. So with the free fringe, let me just share with you. 1 minute. How much does it cost? It costs nothing to do the free fringe. And then it costs your posters and the marketing. So let's just say every single day, on average, you manage to make £65 through your bucket. And I mean, I've had days where I've made £400 or £500, and I've had days where I've made 50 or 60 quid. But let's just say you've made £65 through your bucket every single day. And you do the show for 28, no, let's go less than that. It'll be 24 days. You've made £1,560 doing your show. You've got someone to help you do marketing for a wee while, and that's cost you £30 per day. or £20 per day, and then you got your flyers, etc. And you might walk away with making £800 or £900, which covers your accommodation, and you broke even. If you're in a bigger free fringe venue and you manage to draw in on average £125 per day, which I know is fairly doable, and you're doing 23 shows, you're bringing in just under £3,000 for that month. And if you manage to make all your marketing work for the 875, you're down to £2,000 left, and then that covers all your accommodation, all your costs, etc., and you've had a great month. Now let's look into the paid fringe where you hire the venue. So you pay a £7,000 upfront fee. Then with both paid, or pretty much, and the free fringe, you pay a £300 registration fee. Then you've got your marketing costs. So say without a handprint, you spend £700. Then you spend £500 on Facebook ads. You've got your accommodation, say that's £1,500. And you have, so you've got your accommodation, you've got some of your marketing done. You'll pay for your posters, so that's maybe £200. You get someone to help distribute it over the month, so that's £300. But this is, remember, this is a straight hire. You're paying for your marketing. You're paying for your accommodation. You travel up, so say that's another £200. And you've got to pay for some things in your show, so there's £300. Right, we're at £11,000. And that is for a £7,000 upfront payment. Now let's just base that on an 80-seater venue. An 80-seater venue where tickets are £10, that's £800, and you times that by, you do 28 shows. Well, the profit can be, if you sell out, £12,400. So yeah, it's a great way of doing it. Similar, if you're doing the Gilded Balloon, for example, and you're doing a split, and you're on, again, I'm just showing it one number, 60-40 split, then how it would work with this venue is, you've got maybe a small fee of £2,500 up front, and then you pay your £300 registration fee, you pay all your marketing, you pay all of the extras, and there is so much potential money that can be made at the very end. I think at the beginning, you just need to find out what your budget is to get there, and then work out what you can get as your ROI, your return on investment. I think what the good thing about the 60-40 split is you're not paying the £7,000 or £8,000 for your venue fee. You're literally paying for the slot, and you're paying a deposit basically. And then from the ticket sales, when you overpass that money, then it goes into a 60-40 split. Pros and cons. We're going to finish off with the pros and cons. The pros and cons are massive. So let's talk about the pros and cons for street performance, paid fringe, and free fringe. Street performance. The pros are you have no venue fee. You make money by performing your show using a bucket, and it's all coming straight direct to you. You can have some of the most amazing time slots in the most amazing areas. There is such a buzz around the Royal Mile, for example, and some of the shows you will absolutely smash, and you will get a name for yourself. The cons are Scottish weather is the main con. Oh my word, Scottish weather. Amount of shows that I see the way you've got no one around you, or you have to cancel it because of the weather, so there's no guarantee. 2, you have to get up first thing in the morning and book your slot. 3, you might not even get a slot that day because all the slots might go because it's becoming more popular with the area. Oh, you also need to get a license for doing this, but that is through the Edinburgh Fringe site, just so you're aware. 4, you also need to draw a crowd. You have to draw a crowd and make sure that they're all going to stay. And 5, there's no consistency. You don't know what money you're making, because some shows you might have massive crowds, and if your pitch isn't good, people start to walk away, and you might only make £20-30. You don't want that. You want to be bringing in thousands of pounds, and that's what you want to do. The more shows you do, the more money you're going to make, etc., and the better you're going to become. The PBH, the free fringe, what do the costs come? Well, you spend a £3,000 application fee through the Edinburgh Fringe, so you're registered on their website. You also then pay for your marketing, your posters, your flyering, the distribution of your posters, and then accommodation, food and drink, and if you want to do a donation to the PBH at the end as a thank you, then you can do so. Also, you've also got your act, potentially a card reader, and many other things that you might think that would work for you. And where the main costs come in is if you're doing a ticketed show, you may need staff, you may need a tech person, a technician, you may need someone to distribute your flyers, maybe a marketing team, you've got PR, you've got the venue, the accommodation, the slot that you're going for, you have the costs do add up. I'm not going to lie. But I'm hoping this video has helped you out. I've done the Edinburgh Fringe for many years, and yes, every single year I've actually not lost a penny. However, some of the years have been very stressful. I will admit, I done a show last year and it was very stressful, making sure it would all work, spending all the money out there and then returning it all back in September. But guess what? It works out in the very end. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, because I will be making a series on the Edinburgh Fringe, and this is just video number 1. Now, I know you're probably going to go, well, some of these tips were just awful. Some of the tips were really good. Well, guys, let me know which ones you liked and which ones you didn't like. As I say, this is just based on my experiences and off the tip of my tongue. I also had a few things to talk about. I had the experience, type of fringe, booking of the fringe, accommodation, marketing, cost involved, and pros and cons written on my laptop. And again, I am just basically ad-libbing everything I'm saying from the experience that I've had at the Edinburgh Fringe. But as I say, please subscribe, because I will see you in another video, and let me know what you would like me to answer in the comments below so I know exactly what you want to see. See you soon.